Gnostic correspondence group study of revolutionary psychology. And the development of this psychology or psyche within the logos does not happen mechanically. It doesn't evolve on its own, unconsciously. It needs a revolution, a revolutionary impetus. Or as the Gnostic master Samael Aun-Weor tells us, that there are three factors for the revolution of the consciousness. And they're defined as spiritual birth, psychological death, and voluntary self-sacrifice. These are the three factors for the revolution of the consciousness. Birth. Obviously, when we think of birth, we must admit that fundamentally it is a sexual question, which we will go into deeper in the future. But birth also implies awakening, seeing, being, experiencing the new in each moment. Momentaneity. We must attempt to awaken, to be awake to the new, to take each moment as if it's the first time we are ever experiencing it, without preconceived ideas or concepts. Awaken the essence and be awake. Find ways to remain and sustain the state of wakefulness. Which leads us to the second factor, death. This implies the relinquishing or the letting go of the elements that trap my attention, my consciousness, the elements that keep me from being in and sustaining a state of wakefulness, preconceived ideas, concepts, beliefs, shoulds, shouldn'ts, regrets, shame, pride, etc. All of the elements that get in the way of seeing myself, who I really am, instead of perceiving and projecting what I believe I am. These are the things we have to die to. And the first step for this detaching, letting go, is to not identify yourself with what you perceive, whether this perception is outside or even when it is within you. You may be influenced by the thought or the feeling, but do not become under the influence of that thought or feeling. Your awareness may be distracted, but do not let your attention become diverted, consumed by the thought or the feeling. We do this by maintaining a division of attention, and at first it may seem difficult. It takes effort, yes, but it's an effort of the consciousness. And if it feels impossible, if it feels like you don't understand it, it's because you're trying to do it with the mind. And the mind only knows this or that. It's the consciousness that can hold this and that. Stand outside of the thought to observe it. So by letting go, we begin to die to these false ideas, concepts about ourselves. False because memories of the past or projections of the future are not the present reality, and therefore are not real. Even if they did happen, they only exist or persist as a reality in my mind as long as I keep my attention on them. Otherwise, they're just possibilities to be aware of. So the first aspect of dying to oneself is to not believe 100% in what we're being told, even by ourselves. Because here is the tyranny that's trapped our consciousness, our essence. It may seem like it's being captivated by outside forces, but it's a little more insidious because it's inside of us. This captivation is inside ourself, by the self. And by letting go, we start to free the essence, the consciousness, to provide a space to feel more connected to reality, more conscious. And the third factor, sacrifice. At first we see that it is a sacrifice to see the new and die to the old, to be born into a new perception, and to die to old ways of being and behaving, habits, patterns. Fundamentally, this sacrifice is of one's self, to help others who are suffering, who are identified, captivated with pain, psychological as well as physical. And as we become free, we let others be free. And through this, we become more aware of the ability to help those around us, to come in contact with our true talents, skills, loves. And then we can truly give that which we most love, or better said, sacrifice what we most love to help others. Birth, death, and sacrifice. Very interestingly, in the Declaration of Independence, which is a document for the declaration of our own independence, it expresses this idea of self-evident truths, that of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Life relates to the factor of birth, awakening. The pursuit of liberty is liberating from our psychological enslavement, death to decrepit constructs, either inside or out. And the pursuit of happiness, which initially we might think of one's own happiness, but ultimately it is the pursuit of happiness for all. Because how could one truly be happy if they were surrounded by others identified in pain and suffering? We are all ultimately, intimately connected. When we are meditating, even if we are alone, we are also meditating for others. And when we are praying for others, we are also praying for ourselves. By finding the suffering inside of ourselves and liberating from it, we have the capacity to help others liberate from their suffering. And so the pursuit of happiness is fundamentally accomplished by pursuing happiness for all. And the belief in separativity is a blasphemy. So the exercises are to be carried out in self-observation, moment to moment, attempting to be born new in each moment, trying to perceive each moment as new, as well as in each moment trying to see what you can die to or let go of, habits, forms of thinking, patterns, and in this way feel that you are sacrificing yourself not just for your own pleasure and happiness, but for the pleasure and happiness of all beings. And in this way, we fulfill a revolution for our psychology. Continue doing the meditation practice that you've been doing or that you are working with. The most recent was that of transforming or transmuting energy up the spine and into the heart along with the breath. Until we meet again, may you be awake. Thank you for your time, your attention, and your presence.